A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Monza, the traditional season opener for the Ferrari Challenge Europe. Welcome once again to an overcast day with some crowds here to enjoy what is going to be round one of Ferrari Challenge for 2016. This, of course, is where it always starts, and here is the calendar for 2016. We're here at Monza, then we go to Mugello, then we're in support of the Le Mans 24-hour race. We're off to Russia in Sochi, Germany, Hockenheim, Spain, Jerez in October, and then the big world finals in Daytona, USA to come in early December. All the information at races.ferrari.com, and there some young stars of the future, and there some marshals, the volunteers with whom, without their support, there wouldn't be any motor racing. We say thank you to them. There is the circuit location, then it is the traditional season opener here at Monza. We're about 20 minutes or so from central Milan, and we've experienced all sorts of weather conditions for this opening weekend of the European Challenge. We've had blistering sunshine and heat wave a couple of years ago to dull and overcast this year. But the air temperature about 18 degrees as we take a look from the onboard camera of Tommaso Rocca, looking back at the champion from TropheoPirelli last year. You could just see the gold front of that 458, which is Bjorn Grossman's car. And there the circuit map, then the traditional circuit here at Monza, 5.793 kilometers, which features some 8 very challenging turns. One of which, the Variante del Rettifio, is the very first chicane, which we're expecting to be the scene of quite some excitement when this race gets underway. The reason being the front of the grid is formed of Babalus on pole position, and alongside him, Philippe Barron in that blue car that you can see there. Both drivers who are utterly committed and unprepared to give a centimetre. Interesting prospect. The Hublot safety car then, Hublot the official timekeeper of the Ferrari Challenge, of course, as we look at the very back end of the grid there, and Yakaskin that we were looking at. But there is a beautiful looking livery of the Babalus car. And Babalus is a nom de plume used by Matteo Santaponte, who is the driver of that car. The Babalus name was used by his father to some success, and therefore it's been adopted. P2 on the grid goes the way of this man, Philippe Barron, former multi-champion, of course, in the Ferrari Challenge, and 13 wins, as you can see there, in the 458 Challenge. So neither he nor Babalus going to be prepared to give an inch. Babalus won the world final here, not here, but at the end of the season last season. And there is David Gosner, who is going from P3 on the grid. If I was David Gosner right now, I'd be thinking to myself, you know what, I'm going to let those two battle their way through that first chicane, and I'm just going to ease off and see what happens. For all our hyperbole, might go through without a problem. We will see. Puglisi then in car number 9, Marcello Puglisi, driving for the Rosso Corsa team. The team, of course, well known for Stefano Guy, the very, very successful GT racer, who indeed has also raced in the Ferrari Challenge and runs the Rosso Corsa team, does Stefano Guy, who we've seen in the paddock this weekend. So Babalus, Barron on the front row. Then we see Gosner and Puglisi. And there is Bjorn Grossman, last year's TropheoPirelli champion, driving for the Octane 126 team. There you can see confirmation of the 2015 TropheoPirelli champion. The Octane 126 team is team principled by one Christian Berchinger, who's a hard taskmaster, it has to be said, but runs a very, very tight ship, and a number of cars for Octane 126 this year. In fact, he was saying that might get up to 4 cars during the course of the season for the Zurich-based team of Octane 126, who return with Bjorn Grossman, the TropheoPirelli champion from 2015. So all pro drivers in the first 5 places on the grid. There's 2 categories in the TropheoPirelli class of Ferrari Challenge: the pro drivers and the AM drivers. And as we take a little postcard look at our venue here at Monza, welcome to you if you are just joining us. Two classes of driver then, Pro and Am driver across the grid. And the first of the Am drivers to show will go from P6. We're looking at Alessandro Vezzoni as we continue our look through the Pro drivers. And Alessandro Vezzoni, who was an Am driver last year and won the Am championship for TropheoPirelli, gets promoted up to Pro for this year. Car number 32 is Andrea Segler, the Style F Squadra Corsa driver. And you can see on the graphics the little Am and P on the left-hand side of the graphic indicates whether they're Pro or Am drivers.
Ciao, my name is Manuela Gostner.
I am Corinna Gostner. I'm Deborah Meyer. I'm French.
I'm from Italy.
I am from Italy. I'll be racing this for the first time with Scuderia Niki from Switzerland. I'm racing the second year at the Ferrari Challenge with the MP Racing team.
This is my second year in Ferrari Challenge, and I'm driving with Massimo Pepe and MP Racing. We are competing in the Ladies' Cup the first time. It will be a very special battle between my sister and me for sure.
It will not just be a battle between me and my sister. We have a new entry this year, Deborah. Racing with Corinna and Manuela Gostner, which I met during some of the test days that were organized during the pre-season. It's going to be a challenge, a fun one, a dynamic one.
I like Monza a lot. It's a very fast and fascinating track with a long history, and we are very happy to start in Monza.
A very tricky one, and I think one of the fastest too. That's why I love it. I am honored and privileged to take part in this competition and also being part of the Ferrari family. So please enjoy the Ferrari Challenge Europe Coppa Shell this year.
Great to see girl power then in the Ferrari Challenge. Of course, those girls all racing in the Coppa Shell category of Ferrari Challenge. Their first race to come a little bit later today. Right now, we focus on the race start for TropheoPirelli. And there you can see the grid is all lined up. Our safety car on board camera. It's Beppe Scanetti then that drives the safety car. He, of course, champion in the Ferrari Challenge from years gone by, and still one of the fastest drivers, and I can say that with some conviction, given he's taken me for a few high-speed laps in his time. And the safety car peels off then. And there is the grid in full for you. Babalus and Philip Barron, P1 and P2. Then it's David Gostner and Marcello Puglisi. All the social media at the bottom of the screen for you as well. Then we see Bjorn Grossman. Before we see the first Am driver to show, the UK racer Sam Smith, who did so well at Mugello at the end of last season. Welcome back, Sam. Then it's Alessandro Vezzoni and Andrea Segler. Then we see John Ferrano, the Canadian racer for Rosso Corsa, and Martin Nelson. Then it's Jan Danis and Thomas O'Rourke bringing up the next row of the grid before we see Benanati and Fisher. Then it is Eita, who's driving for Octane 126, and Yakusin with Ramelli bringing up the rear for Rosso Corsa. Pellin Racing. The cars are on their way. Weaving from side to side to try and get some temperature into those Pirelli P0 tyres. And, through the first chicane and heading up towards turn number 1. The Curva Grande here at Monza. At this point, as we're on our rolling lap, the formation lap, a very warm welcome to broadcasting colleague of mine, Dave King, who's joining us for Ferrari Challenge this weekend. I can just sense the excitement that you're feeling right now.
I'll tell you what, I've been looking forward to this for so long, and it's now actually happening in the next couple of seconds. And I'm really, really interested in this first chicane, as many of the drivers already were when we had a chat with them this morning.
Yes, and the reason we're saying about this first chicane, and forgive us for going on about it, is Balas and Philippe Barron, who are on the front row of the grid. Bear in mind, it's a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge as we go on board with David Gosner. Looking forward then, and David Gosner is in the gun seat here because he's P3. If he's got any sense, he's going to let Babalas and Barron have a little fight of their own in that first chicane, and he's going to be ready to pounce like a viper and pick up the pieces.
Hopefully not too many.
Well, after saying that, all our suggestions that it's going to be battle royale in that first chicane probably means that everyone's going to go through very, very smoothly. Of course, we hope that. Looking backwards from Tommaso Rocca's Rosso Corsa car, then one of those AM drivers, as always the case, partners in the garages always worried at the start of this race. If you and I are feeling anxious, imagine what's going through the drivers' stomachs right now, and also their partners and the teams back in the garages as well.
Absolutely. Now, as you said before, this is the first of the season, so these are the same cars that we had last year, yes?
Absolutely, the 458 Evo. It's the last year, actually, of the 458 Evo car as the challenge car. Next year, we'll be going to the 488 car as the spectators there look on, and we go into the garages there. Also, as sweet concern, and wave to the camera, if you will, please. So we begin to back them up behind the safety car now. As I mentioned, it's a rolling lap always in the Ferrari Challenge, and we're on board with David Gosner, talking to Christian Berchinger from Octane 126, who's Bjorn Grossman is back there, P5 on the grid. He, of course, the TropheoPirelli Pro champion from last year. You can just see his car there from the rearward-facing camera of Tommaso Rocca. As Christian said, the championship isn't won in the first race.
Absolutely, there's a long season ahead.
Right, let's line those cars up then. The safety car will peel off. It will become under the direction of the race director. If he's happy with the lineup of cars, then he'll let those lights go green. We throw the lights to the top of the screen right for you now. Let's get ready. It's race one. And let's go racing. Okay, Babalas and Philippe Barron absolutely side by side, neck and neck as they head up towards that first chicane. David Gosner and Bjorn Grossman on a move as well. Look at Grossman up the inside here. He's got past David Gosner. Well, Babalas gets the better of Philippe Barron, but Bjorn Grossman around the outside. He's up to P3 as Bjorn Grossman from P5 on the grid. The rest of the cars come through without any carnage, I think. Yes, we've got one round. Well called, well spotted that. And that is the car of, that's Tommaso Rocca, who's got one of our onboard cameras on that has gone round there. Okay, so Babalas leads from Philippe Barron, but Barron is under pressure from Bjorn Grossman now. Sam Smith is the first of the AM drivers to show. You can see there he's running in P6 at the moment. They're all jostling for position on this. The opening lap, John Ferrano coming under some pressure there, I think, from Martin Nelson. But Babalas for Scuderia Autoropa has got this, and he had that start perfectly controlled. Here we are through then the chicane, and well, that was a little tap that sent that car around. Certainly not Tommaso Rocca's fault. Clunked in the rear and pirouettes around. So we can see it from Tommaso Rocca's on board there, and we can see it from another angle here. Brilliant to bring you these replays so very quickly. Well done to our team of directors in the OB truck, doing a great job for us. And there in the Autoropa garage, you can see the look of frustration. So we're back on board right now, and we're on board with David Gosner, who is chasing the car of Bjorn Grossman. Also having gone round there is the Ramelli car, the Rosso Corsa Pelham racer. We've got a waved yellow there as Ramelli's gone round. He's got it pointing in the right direction again now, and he's back off and racing. So here we go, and Grossman and Gosner together for P3. Absolutely side by side as they head up to the chicane. Who is going to come through this first? Look at this, they touch their door mirrors. Heavy braking. Gosner's carrying so much speed, he was never going to be able to make that count. Now, the race director will look at that and he will decide, well, unsurprisingly, the place has got to be given back, really, because Gosner would have never made that overtake stick if he'd not cut off the chicane. So David Gosner has done exactly the right thing, and he's He's let Grossman go back in front, so there'll be no penalty there. And the battle will continue. So it's Babolus, then it's Barron, then it's Grossman, then it is David Gostner. And then the all-yellow Shire liveried car is the first of the AM drivers to show. That's the UK racer, Sam Smith. So this battle for third position between Bjorn Grossman and David Gostner. At the moment, Babolus really has got the measure of Philip Barron. He's got 8/10 margin over him as we see a retirement there, and that is the number 42 car of Attar, one of the Octane 126 racers. And there, going off through the gravel was Puglisi, and that was David Gostner on board, shortcutting that chicane. And it did exactly the right thing by giving that place straight back. Driver coach then for that Octane 126 racer is, of course, another former champion. That's Max Blancardi. Sector 1 for Babolus was the fastest of the race so far. So Babolus really does mean business at the moment. We're on board with David Gostner, and you can see how the pack are now getting away from David Gostner. And, well, his little trip through the wrong way through the first chicane clearly hurting him. Okay, Babolus got this really under control, and he's really eking out the gap now. 1.866, the margin between them. Then it's a further 2 seconds back before we see Bjorn Grossman. But a battle going on here right now. Heading up towards the chicane once again. David Gostner is going to be in strife in a moment from Sam Smith, I would suggest. And then we've got Martin Nelson and Alessandro Vezzoni, who had such a battle royale last year, chasing for that AM championship, and it finished with Vezzoni ahead of Martin Nelson in the end, and Vezzoni is still ahead of Martin Nelson now, as you can see. Difference is that Alessandro Vezzoni, by virtue of winning the AM championship last year, has been promoted into being a pro driver this year. So Martin Nelson there in the Scuderia Autoropa, beautiful livery across that car, same livery as that Babolus is running as well. And well, he is running currently, Martin Nelson, down there in P7.
So once you've been promoted then, you're into a whole different ballgame.
Well, you are up against drivers at the top of their game in the Ferrari Challenge. You're absolutely right. And it's probably fair to see Alessandro Vezzoni running down there in P5 effectively in his class. Right, this is the leader of the race, Babolus then, Matteo Santaporte. And there, the Octane 126 garage, you can see there, and unfortunately Attar out of the race. And this was the battle then between Martin Nelson and Alessandro Vezzoni, and Vezzoni was having none of it, and Martin Nelson had to yield.
It's like coming together though. I noticed that his door mirror was...
You're right. John Ferrano then has a quick wheel change there. Obviously a punctured tyre for the Canadian racer John Ferrano, who runs that superb livery, which means so much to motorsport fans around the world. Well, they've all spread out quite nicely now, haven't they? We've got the first 6 minutes done and dusted, and Sam Smith desperately trying to get on terms with David Gostner. That's a battle for AM versus Pro. And the leader in the AM category is that man from Stratstone Ferrari, being run by FF Corsa, Anthony Cheshire's UK-based team. Sam Smith there, who, as I say, did so well right at the end of the season last year in Mugello. Glad to see him back, and I'm told committed to the full season this year, which is very, very good news for the UK. Now, Babolus has got some time taken out of his margin because Philip Barron has just done the fastest lap of anyone, a 1:53.733. That's a full 3/10 quicker. There you can see that confirmed on the screen. Best lap from Philip Barron in the race. So, all of a sudden, this race might be back on again for P1 as he begins to slowly claw back the 15/10 that Babolus had to his advantage. There is Sam Smith, the UK racer then, the leader in the AM category, running in P5 in the race overall. Bjorn Grossman, TropheoPirelli champion from last year, is running P3. So, top 4 racers, all pro drivers. And there, that's a super shot. A super hyper slow-mo shot of Grossman, Smith, and there our race leader. Taking quite a bit of curb there is Babolus. Great to watch and great to have these super slow-mo replay shots. Love that livery across the Autoropa cars. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Well, Babyliss has responded by a 1:52.960, so he can sense the fact that Barron is getting closer, and therefore has responded by taking just another 10th as a margin. Okay, here comes Sam Smith right on the back of David Gostner now. This is going to be a nice battle that will develop between the pro and the AM driver here. Smith in the all-yellow car, David Gostner, just one member of that four-strong racing family of Gostners that are here across the Ferrari Challenge weekend. Right, where can Sam find the place to overtake David Gostner? Gostner's wily, he knows this track inside out. He's probably got better track knowledge than Sam Smith, or better, certainly been around the track, I would suggest, a few more times than Sam Smith. Is that going to be to his advantage? But through there, Philippe Barron in P2 was slightly tighter and looked more comfortable, but Gostner knows he is under pressure now, and Alessandro Vezzoni is not far off the back of both of them also. First 9 minutes of the race is done. There's Bjorn Grossman in P3. This is perhaps the closest battle of the front runners at the moment. It's a battle between an AM driver and a pro driver. It's the pro driver there, David Gostner, heavy on the brakes. Sam Smith following in every single wheel track that David Gostner is putting down onto the tarmac at the moment. Those Pirelli tyres having to really work their rubber magic, and Gostner makes a mistake. Now, he was able to carry the speed, but Smith was tidier. He is closer now. Is he going to try and reel him in? He's going to go for it here. But the door is firmly closed.
That was incredible. I mean, he went off the track quite a long way.
Pushing so hard, but because Monza is a Formula One track, lots of tarmac runoff area, and therefore he was able to recover from that. This is where the danger is going to come. It's up to this chicane once again. The first chicane here at Monza. Sam Smith dials him in. Now he is going to try and get the commanding inside line here, but he's not close enough to be able to do it. He's going to pray that Gostner makes a mistake. We've seen Gostner shortcut that chicane. He wasn't under so much pressure that he had to do it on that occasion. So David Gostner, for the moment, gets to breathe again. But the pressure from Sam Smith from the UK remains, with just under 20 minutes left to go around the Curva Grande, heading up towards the Variante della Roggia, which is the second chicane. And through they go. And then it is turns 4 and 5, which is Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2 that they're heading to next. And Sam is really keeping with him here. Now, of course, it's not quite the same in a GT car as it is in a single-seater car, but Sam is running in the dirty air that's being put up by the Gostner car in front of him, and that means that his car will be running just a little bit hotter, but Sam knows that he's going to have to try and get this job done as quickly as he possibly can. I don't think there's any doubt that he is the quicker of the two at the moment, and this is a pro driver versus an AM driver. Now, by maintaining that pressure on him, and look at this, all of a sudden, the gap has gone from 1.5 as Gostner goes out wide again.
At the same corner.
Yes, but right at the front, the gap has gone from 1.5 down to 6/10 as Sam gets right alongside Gostner now, and I think he's got this job done. He has. That was a brilliant overtake from Sam Smith. If he can just close the door now, but no, Gostner comes back. This is a brilliant battle that's going on for P4. But it's a battle for class honour as well between Sam Smith and David Gostner. Now, Smith here should have the advantage going into the first chicane, but Gostner's got his bonnet just in front. Fair play to Sam Smith. He's really trying here. Gostner squirms under braking. Sam was much smoother, but is able to make that chicane. You can see the back end of the Smith car stepping out there as he's back on the power once again. Great driving from both of them. But right at the front, look at this. That huge lead that Babyliss had of some 1.5 seconds has been brought down to just 6/10 over the last couple of laps. So the battle is on for P1 once again. Now, Babyliss will be very aware of the fact that Philippe Barron is closer than he's ever been to him. Just wonder whether Matteo is being ever so clever here, Babyliss, and just letting him reel him in a bit, and then let's see over the next couple of laps. Here comes the live gap. It was 6/10. Well, as if what I'm saying is right. He's increased the gap by another 10th. I don't think he's playing with him. I really don't. I think that they are both pushing as hard as they can. They're consistently lapping in the mid-152s. Grossman goes off wide as well, but there is plenty of runoff there. Gosner, we've seen do it, well, actually on this occasion, Gosner was tighter than he's ever been through there.
There's one or two people actually using that runoff area.
Yeah, well, the race director will keep an eye on that, and if he thinks that someone is gaining an unfair advantage, he'll probably punish that, but at the moment I don't think anybody is. Okay, another lap is completed. We're just under half distance in this race. Well, Barron has not let him get too far away now. Well, this a super slow-mo, and it's a repeat of right at the start of the race when that car went round, and there was Ferrano then with the problem on the front driver's side, because these cars are a left-hand drive that had to go in and have that tyre replaced, you will recall. So the battle for P1 continues, and the back end of Babelus's car just got loose there, didn't he? He took quite a lot of curb over there. That's allowed Philippe Barron to get ever closer to Babelus now.
So he's obviously feeling the pressure now.
Yeah, he's one of these drivers that copes really, really well when the pressure is on, to be honest. Probably he copes with it better. I think, actually, the way they are at the moment, P1 and P2, is advantageous for Philippe. I don't think Philippe would cope with it as well as Babelus can. Which, of course, is to Philippe's advantage now, because he's the one doing the fighting, isn't it? It's easier sometimes to fight than defend. And right now, well, you can see there, Barron has just taken a couple of tenths out of him.
There's one thing being behind him. It's not quite another thing to overtake.
Absolutely, and that's never going to be made easy for him. There you can see over the last 3 laps the difference between them. It was laps 6 and 7, look, where that gap really, really came down. And whilst all this is going on, the battle for P4 is just as lively between David Gosner and Sam Smith. That's the battle between a pro and an AM driver. These are both pro drivers, and once again, Babelus is just able to eke it out a bit more, and see if Barron can try and reel him in as they head towards that chicane. And, well, as you can see, Babelus a 10th quicker than on that occasion, but we are talking about tenths, aren't we? Very little between the two of them here. 279 kilometers per hour, Babelus then putting through the speed trap. That's how quick these cars go.
That is phenomenal, isn't it? And that just goes to show all the setup and all the testing yesterday that went on.
Absolutely. 4,400cc mid-engine Berlinetta, these cars. And the Evolution Aero kit that the cars have, the most noticeable part of that, of course, is the big, big rear wing they have now, which helps keep the back end of that car on the track. 4 tenths, the gap between Babelus and Barron now. I don't think Babelus is playing with him here. I think he is being reeled in. The margin is seesawing a little bit between the two of them. Babelus is not someone that makes mistakes, it has to be said. And therefore, Philippe is really, really going to have to try and keep the pressure on here, knowing probably that Babelus is not likely to make a mistake. He's going to have to try and overtake on pace alone.
And that's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Well, I would suggest at the moment that the pace difference is not there. It's not there. We're under half race distance now with 13.5 minutes left to run. Bjorn Grossman out there on his own in P3 at the moment is some 5-6 seconds ahead of David Gosner and Sam Smith. And whilst that battle between Gosner and Sam Smith continues, that means that Grossman has got nothing to worry about because he's out on his own in P3. He's good 3 seconds behind these two, and therefore he's out on his own for a podium P3 the way it looks at the moment. They cross our commentary position, which is right on the timing line here. And there, last lap, you can see Philippe Barron was just a little bit quicker. And that's what I'm saying about this seesawing of lap times between the two of them. Absolutely so evenly matched, aren't they? But evenly matched is not enough to elevate Philippe Barron from P2 to P1. Interesting role reversal concerning Philippe Baron this year, because of course last year he was team managing Florian Merckx. Florian Merckx has gone off to race in the Asia Pacific Series, and so on the end of Philippe Baron's radio at the moment is his driver, Florian Merckx. So it's a poacher turned gamekeeper almost, isn't it, as Florian Merckx is.
So what will he be telling him at the moment?
Keep calm, I suspect. Don't push too hard, don't, you know, because by being too aggressive, if he makes a mistake, you know, he's got a healthy margin over Bjorn Grossman in P3. He's got some, 3 seconds, but we don't want this for Philippe to attack too much, make a mistake. That allows Grossman to get ever closer. There's absolutely, it's a long championship. It's not going to be won today. There's another race tomorrow. And, you know, to bank P2 is better perhaps than potentially to lose P2 and for it to become P4 or P5. I guess is what Florian will be saying. Sadly, we don't have team radio in broadcast. This broadcast, boy, I wish we did. But Florian was saying, and Philip was saying, how important it is to, you know, just to keep your driver calm, and because we can see things perhaps that, you know, maybe he can't. Okay, here's Alessandro Vezzoni and Sam Smith, and now Martin Nelson is joining in that little party as well. So all of a sudden, Sam is going to be in this difficult position of hunting and being hunted. And he will realise that, and if anything, I think Sam is just picking up the pace a little bit now. Sam Smith will want the win in the AM category, and at the moment, that win could be challenged by Martin Nelson, who's right on his tail now. Nelson really has got some speed here and dives up the inside of Sam Smith. Alessandro Vezzoni leads this trio, and Sam has lost a place there. And that was a very, very good overtake by Martin Nelson, to be honest. He got that lined up from the previous corner, used the straight to his advantage, and Martin Nelson has done a great job there. And Martin Nelson moves up a place to P6 overall, but he's now leading the AM category with Sam Smith in P2. Just wonder as now Martin Nelson sets about Alessandro Vezzoni and, well, goes through him into that second chicane like a hot knife through butter, truthfully. Martin Nelson really on a charge here. This is great driving from Martin. Now Sam Smith gets past Alessandro Vezzoni. I wonder whether Vezzoni has got a slight problem there with that car, because...
Now, he was waving out the window a few seconds ago. I'm not sure whether he was telling anybody what to do.
Well, perhaps he realises he has got an issue and that he's not able to keep up that pace, and therefore has done the gentlemanly thing and just let those two go through rather than battle too hard. Again, Vezzoni thinking he'll bank the place that he's got. But Martin Nelson, what a fantastic overtake. Well, see all that waving. I don't think it was waving. It was probably a gesture of some kind, because he's attacking again now. Further down the order, there's John Ferrano and the number 67 car of Fischer in a battle there as they go absolutely side by side. James Fischer in the Octane 126, and then John Ferrano then in that Rosso Corsa car. So Babylos leading by 4/10 over Philippe Baron. We'll continue to watch this. We have under 9 minutes left of this race, and Philippe Baron is still seemingly not able to take anything to Babylos currently. And as I mentioned earlier in this program, Babylos is not one for making a mistake. So Baron is really going to have to do it the hard way. But you can see the back end of the Babylos car just twitching there, and Philippe Baron is closer than he's ever been. Is he reeling him in now? Is he going to go for a charge? Well, that's a hard place to do it, to be fair, but Philippe Baron is going to push all he possibly can. Ultimately, Philippe Baron is a racing driver, and P2 will not be satisfactory. He will want P1.
His mirrors must be full of that car behind him.
Absolutely. Babylos's mirror is full of that metallic blue of Philippe Baron. You're absolutely right. But Babylos knows he's there, and this is what is very, very impressive for Babylos as a driver, for me, as Christian Hobome watches on. Good to see Christian, who had an off in free practice and fairly damaged his car. Thankfully, Christian did not damage himself. Christian, one of the Capachel drivers, good to see him all okay. Sadly, he won't be racing this weekend, I don't think. Now Babylos has answered back, look, by just opening up another couple of tenths over Philippe Baron, and this battle has raged from the very, very start of this race. The race order overall, let me bring that to you. It's being ticked across the top of your screen, but it's Babylos Baron, then it's Grossman Gostner, then it's Nelson Vezzoni and Sam Smith down to P7 and P2 in the AM category overall. Best of the AM drivers then is Martin Nelson, who's running P5 overall. The last lap then, a 152.881 versus a 153.002. You see Babylos there, just a tenth quicker on that last lap. And that's what it's been like all race long, isn't it, between these two. Two very, very talented drivers at the very top of their game in the Ferrari Challenge. And just through the corner of my eye, I could see Sam Smith having a go at Vezzoni. And here it is as we bring it to you on camera as they head up to the first chicane once again. Vezzoni heavy braking. Same two for Sam Smith here. Now Sam Smith in car number 92 is battling a pro driver ahead of him, Alessandro Vezzoni, and so far has been denied. The man that has managed to get past Alessandro Vezzoni is Martin Nelson, who's away up the road now. He's almost checked out, hasn't he? He's got so far ahead of them. So Martin Nelson driving really, really well, and just wonder with, what have we got left? 6 minutes left. The gap between Martin Nelson in P5 and David Gostner is some 10 seconds. It's going to be too much as around goes car number 67. Thankfully, Fisher didn't get caught by the other car that was coming around there, and Fisher just around in the, there's John Ferrano, and Fisher then, I suspect, with just a little bit of curb. No, it was just purely on his own, wasn't it? Looked like all four wheels were on the tarmac there, just a little bit too much of the loud pedal.
Absolutely.
And the car backed off. Of course, at this stage in the race, the tyres are certainly not offering as much grip as they did right at the start of the race.
And I'm sure it's quite an intense job of work they're doing it, so they really are feeling fatigued at the moment.
Of course, I have seen drivers, even the fit drivers like Florian Merckx that I was talking about, get out of these cars absolutely exhausted at the end of a race, dripping with sweat. And Babylos and Philippe Baron, who are two very, very fit guys, you know, they'll be feeling it because they've run at this intense pressure of battling between themselves for the entire 25 minutes of this race that we've had. And I remind you, it's a 30-minute duration, so we're into the final 5 minutes of this race. Here comes the live gap for you between the two. It's just 3 tenths. Baron realising perhaps it's now or never. So Philippe Baron is now going to push and push and push, and he is more close than he has ever been. Babylos will be aware of this, and he'll be trying to do everything he can to answer it back. But Philippe Baron knows this circuit very, very well, has had huge success in the Ferrari Challenge, that's for sure. So too, though, has Babylos. Bear in mind, he won the World Championship in Mugello, the World Championship race that's competed for by not only the European drivers, but Asian Pacific and North American drivers as well. Mind you, Baron's had that title as well, so, you know, they're very, very equally matched in terms of ability, that's for sure. But Babylos again just picks up the pace a little bit. Gap just under 4 tenths between the two of them. Scuderia Autoropa versus the Rosso Corsa driving Philippe Baron.
Must be an interesting position to be in P1. Are you concentrating on where you're going? Are you concentrating on what's in front of you? Or are you concentrating on the guy behind?
Well, many drivers will tell you that if you drive with the rear view mirrors, then you go from P1 to P2. So Babylos, I suspect, will be focusing totally on nailing every apex, putting the car exactly where he wants it to be. He'll be ever conscious of the fact that Philippe is there, but I certainly don't think Babylos is driving through the rearview mirror, because the moment he does that,
you make a mistake.
Possibly so, and that would be enough. That's all that Philippe needs, isn't it? It's just one tiny error from Babylos, and, you know, for the third time of saying so in this program, Babylos generally don't make mistakes, and that's what's denying Philippe Baron. Baron just doesn't have the additional pace to put on an overtake, and Babylos is not making an error, and that's what Babylos needs to do. After saying that, Baron once again turns up the wick and gets ever closer to him.
But like you said before, an overtaking manoeuvre, it doesn't look like he's got enough speed to do that.
No, the pace isn't there to do it. He needs Babylos to make an error, really. Or he needs to be... Philip needs to throw all caution to the wind and go for perhaps an unorthodox move. It might work, and it might not.
That's dangerous.
Well, are you better off banking a P2 than trying to go for a P1? Everyone will tell you, if you're a racing driver, the only P that matters is number 1. It's not P2. We will see. We've only got 2 minutes left, so it's just a couple of... Well, it's 1 lap plus what's left of this lap, I would suggest, to see. And will Philip go for a last lap lunge? Don't know. I think he'll... discretion will pay the better part of valour, and that he will think, I'm going to bank this P2, and we'll try all over again tomorrow.
Just take the points, and thank you very much.
Bank the points. It's a long championship, you know. We've got to go off to Mugello, to Le Mans, Sochi, Hockenheim, Jerez, also Daytona. It's a long season. So it is the final lap, as I predicted. It's now or never for Philip Barron. And Babylos has... Now, Babylos makes an error. Now, I don't think he gained any advantage there. So I don't think he will be penalised, although he did... Actually, he probably did gain an advantage in that he's probably driven up the gap between them. And if Philip was going to have a go, is that going to be denied now because of that?
You can see that extra gap now, can't you?
Yeah, you can. But I don't think so. I think he'll get away with that. So Babylos leads. It's got up to 6/10 between him and Philip Barron now. Where does Philip try a move? This is the question around this Monza circuit, which is difficult. It's a real, it's, you know, such a historic circuit where sheer pace plays such a big part. We're on the final lap. Sereglio. They go through. Big, heavy braking now through Ascari, which is turn 7. All they have now is the Parabolica turn to do before it'll be Babylos heading towards the checkered flag, I don't think, as they run down the back of the paddock and into Parabolica now. I don't think there is anything they can do, although we are just being shot up on the timing screen that car number 55 is under investigation as Babylos heads towards the checkered flag. Bear in mind that statement, under investigation. Takes the checkered flag for now with Philip Barron, P2.
Now, will he know that at this point in time?
Probably not. Probably not. Because if they'd have, if the teams had advised him of that, you know, that just takes away his focus, his concentration. Better off not saying anything. Let him cross the line, let him take the win, and let them have the argument in the steward's box, perhaps after the race. Now, here's the AM winner. And that's Martin Nelson. What a brilliant drive from Martin Nelson. He's taken P5 overall, but takes the AM category honours. Second in the AM category is going to be Sam Smith, and third is going to be Beninati. And there is Martin Nelson, absolutely delighted with that. Great drive from Martin Nelson for Scuderia Autoropa. So the order then, overall, Babylos, Barron, Grossman, Gosner, then it's Nelson, Vezzoni, Yandanis, Sam Smith. And then it's Benatti and Tommaso Roca, I think, should finish in P10. And here comes the number 67 car of Fisher then, an Octane 126 car, which looks a little battle-scarred at the front, doesn't it? But the team will sort that out around the Parabolica. The checkered flag is ready to wave for that number 67 car, which will take P11. Tommaso Roca then P10, as I confirmed. And there is Martin Nelson, the AM winner. Now, this is the reason why car 55 is under investigation. You can see here, shortcut in the chicane. Now, I think that did give a little advantage to him, because certainly thereafter, Barron was not as close to him as he had been.
But that's not very... it's not like him to make that mistake there.
I think he was just carrying too much speed. Right. I just think it was... He had to bail it. It was not going to go through. There's David Gosner, another fine... race from David Gosner, and we go on board with that man right now, the Arnico MP racing driver. on the slowing down lap. We will, of course, be bringing you the full podium ceremony, both pro and am. And there is Alessandro Vezzoni then, promoted from am driver to pro for this season's campaign.
So we've got more races to come?
Absolutely. We have the Copichelle race to come this afternoon, and then we do it all over again tomorrow with another race for TropheoPirelli and another race for Copichelle. There's Sam Smith then, the UK-based driver who's committed to a full season in the Ferrari Challenge across Europe this year, and that's really, really good to see. And he takes P2 in the AM Honours and P8 in the race overall. Still no further information with regards to car number 55. I suspect that's a discussion that will go on long after the podium ceremony. I suspect the podium ceremony will go ahead as they cross the line. The only thing I think could happen is if Babyliss gets a time penalty, retrospective time penalty, that will take away his P1 and it will become maybe P2 or 3. Only time will tell. As soon as we have that news, we'll bring it to you. There is Philippe Baron on the left-hand side and Florian Merckx to the right-hand side of him. And you can see just how exhausted those drivers are as they get out of the car. It's hard work. There's Bjorn Grossman then, TropheoPirelli champion, who takes P3 in race 1 of season 2016 here at Monza. And there's Martin Nelson. Brilliant drive from Martin Nelson to take the AM Honours. Really did drive very well indeed. And there's Martin, big thumbs up, he's pretty happy with that, and so he should be. There's Sam Smith, P2 in the AM category, driving for Stratstone Ferrari, being engineered, of course, by the FF Corsa team. And there is Benanati then for Style F Squadra Corsa, who takes P3 in the AM Honours. Andrea Benanati making his way out of the car. No further action is going to be given to driver number 55, so Babyliss takes the win. That's it, confirmed from race control that no further action for Babyliss. So the order is as we will see them on the podium. There's Anthony Cheshire from FF Corsa congratulating Sam Smith. So it'll be Babyliss, Baron and Grossman that take the pro honours, and it will be Martin Nelson, Sam Smith and Benanati that take the AM honours. And there indeed is Andrea Benanati then out of the car. Confirmation then of everything that we've told you. Babyliss wins for TropheoPirelli. Martin Nelson wins for AM with P2 and P3 there as well. So that confirmation of the top 3 in both classes. And there the cars parked up, podium just above to the right-hand side of your screen. As you can see, that's where they will be heading. Let's take a look at the highlights of that race then. As they headed towards the line, we always knew it was going to be a big battle, but it was perhaps David Gosner that showed more life than either of the two at the front. But as they came through the first chicane, it was Babyliss that was through and fine, and one car went round right at the very back. And on the move was Bjorn Grossman, that's for sure. Bjorn Grossman would end up finishing the race P3. And there we can see the first casualty of the first chicane, and that's exactly how it happened. As the teams look on, the Nico MP pit perch that we were on board with, Philippe Baron kept Babyliss keen for the entire race, that's for sure. But whatever pressure he was able to press on him, he couldn't seem to find the ability to make Babyliss make a mistake, which is really what he needed. He couldn't do it on pace advantage alone. He was looking for an error to come from Babyliss. And Sam Smith was the best AM driver for a very long while and was battling there with Alessandro Vezzoni, the AM category winner from last year of the championship, but up into the pro category for 2016. As I mentioned, Babyliss and Philippe Baron absolutely welded together virtually for the entire race. And that's how they would finish across the line in the end. Babyliss taking the win. Well, from our commentary position, the podium is to our left. In fact, I could almost dive out and go and do the podium ceremony as well. And the drivers will be up on the podium very shortly. P3 in TropheoPirelli was this man, Bjorn Grossman, the TropheoPirelli champion from 2015. Bjorn Grossman takes a very creditable P3. P2 is Philip Barron, then the Rosso Corsa driver in car number 91. He takes P2. And then taking the win for Scuderia Autoropa is this man, Babylos, who, despite the pressure from Philip Barron throughout the race, was unable. Philip Barron was unable to make the pressure stick and make Babylos make a mistake. She didn't. There's Bjorn Grossman then for P3. Here comes Philip Barron for P2. And Babylos then. Both of them deserve much credit. They drove a great race together. They could have so easily taken each other off, and they didn't. And that was really, really good to see. Here comes the national anthem. The short edit version of that plays out for Babylos. And I think it's Antonello Coletta that will be making the trophy presentations. Indeed it is. Mr. Coletta then, the head of Ferrari GT Sporting Activities. Antonello makes the trophy presentation first of all to Babylos, then to Philip Barron. In fact, he's done it 3-2-1, so he's made the trophy presentation to Bjorn Grossman, then to Philip Barron, and now the winner's trophy to Babylos there on the top step of the podium. Stand by, of course, we'll bring you the AM podium as well. There goes the team's trophy to Scuderia Autoropa. And that's rather a nice trophy as well. That's... might need strengthening of the mantelpiece for that one, I think. And there they all pose for the photographs. And stand by for the champagne to go. And it'll be Babylos that wins the race to the bottle. Trust me. See? Well, in fact, Barron weren't far behind him, perhaps a 10th.
Just like it's been for the last half an hour.
Absolutely, yes, he's kind of used to that, isn't he? There's confirmation then that there's going to be no further action regarding the warning to Babylos for shortcutting the chicane. No further action to be taken. So the
that would have been a result. That would have been a bitter.
It would have been. It would have been, and I think credit to the race direction. That's exactly the right. I think that's exactly the right. Decision. Okay, here's the Drivers' Championship there. 22 points for Babylos. He takes the win. From Philip Barron on 17, then it's Bjorn Grossman, David Gosnat, Alessandro Vezzoni, Jan Dennis, and Marcello Puglisi with 1 point. And P7, all the social media on the bottom bar there, as you can see. Do check us out on facebook.com/Ferrari as we take some super slow-mos. Here comes Benanati then. These are the slow-mos of the podium order for the AM category. So Andrea Benanati going to be up there on the third step of the podium. Sam Smith, great drive from Sam Smith. Sees him take another podium. It's P2 for him. Dearly loved P1 and he came very close to taking it, to be truthful. But in the end, there was nothing to deny this man who was just driving a barnstormer of a race. Martin Nelson, who finished the AM category last year in P2 in TropheoPirelli in the championship overall. And Martin Nelson driving a brilliant race to take the win in the AM category for the TropheoPirelli in race 1 here at Monza. The podium is being readied. First of all, you see you have to have someone there with a mop to get rid of the champagne that has been sprayed liberally by the TropheoPirelli winners. But here come the AM category winners right now. They're being announced by our track announcer, who's always here for Ferrari. Great guy. And there is Andrea Benanati. Here comes Sam Smith for the UK then. And Martin Nelson, delighted with that win. Drove an absolutely brilliant race, did Martin, and Europa team representative there as well. And stand by for the national anthem. Once again, the short version of the national anthem plays out for Martin Nelson, and Antonello Colletto, once again, the head of Ferrari GT Sporting Activities, makes the trophy presentation, first of all, to our P3 driver, Andrea Benanati. Here comes P2 for the UK, Sam Smith, and the winner, and deserved winner as well. Martin Nelson drove a brilliant race, and he takes those lovely trophies. But he takes the one that says P1, which is always the one that every driver wants. Europa take another one for their collective team cabinet, which is of considerable size, as you can imagine. And Martin receives the Pirelli trophy as well. So there we have delight in the pit wall as the podium ceremony is watched. And they'll all get together for the photos. And my money's on Smith to be first with the champagne for this podium.
Right. What about your driver of the race there? Do you think it was Smith?
No, I think it was Martin Nelson. Brilliant drive from Martin Nelson. He just cut through them, and he's first with the champagne as well. He just cut through them and then was beginning to make inroads on David Gosner as well. So, no, for me, it was a brilliant drive from Martin Nelson. Deserves much credit for that. In the AM category then, it's 21 points to Martin Nelson. Sam Smith in a very, very good position, though, in P2 on 18, and Andrea Benanati then on 13 points. And then you can see Roca and Fischer and Yakuskin, Zegler, Ferrano, and Galipata, and Giuseppe Romelli there bringing up the rear with 1 point apiece before they head into race 2 tomorrow. Now, of course, qualifying tomorrow will set the grid for tomorrow's race. The results today, clean sheet of paper tomorrow.
But do you think it's going to be perhaps the same grid?
Possibly. Don't know. Weather conditions are supposed to be a bit sunnier tomorrow. That will make a difference. Who knows? Can never predict, and that's the great thing about motor racing and the great thing about the Ferrari Challenge as well. If you ask me to, predict things, 9 times out of 10 they'll be wrong. It's not just a Richardson trait; it's the fact that the racing is actually so very close and exciting. So we've had a good race from TropheoPirelli, and we've got another race to come this afternoon as well from the Copa Shell drivers. Looking forward to that to come a little bit later this afternoon, live from Monza, the spiritual home and start of the Ferrari Challenge season every year. We've seen Babelas take the win in the Pro category, and we've seen Martin Nelson take the win in the AM category. Good racing from the Ferrari Challenge as always. Next race, as you can see there, 13:20 GMT. It is the Copa Shell, race 1. From Dave King and from myself, bye-bye for now.